Welcome to the online class. How are you everyone? I think you all are keeping well by the grace of Almighty Allah. I am also fine. This is Hasina Islam, lecturer, Department of English, Tongi Government College, Gazipur. This lecture is for the students of Honours 3rd year. We have started Victorian poetry and today we are going to start a new poem from Alfred Tennyson. So Alfred Tennyson is a Victorian poet and today we are going to start a new poem, Oenone. And this poem is actually based on Greek mythology. She is a mythological character and I think you all will enjoy this poem. Oenone. The poem is written by Alfred Tennyson in 1829. The poem describes the Greek mythological character Oenone and her witnessing incidents in the life of her lover Paris. Paris was her lover as he is involved in the events of the Trojan War. Paris later involved in Trojan War due to Helen because he abducted Helen and involved in Trojan War. Oenone was inspired by Tennyson's trip to Spain, where he visited the Pyrenees Mountains. It is considered the simplest of Tennyson's dramatic monologues. That is, it is one of the well-known dramatic monologues by Alfred Tennyson. Before starting this poem, you have to find out the literary devices used in this poem like imagery, simile, then personification, the senses, alliteration, metaphor. So, you will try to find out all these literary figures from this poem. First of all, I am going to say something about the background of this poem. Tennyson became friends with Arthur Hallam while at Cambridge. That is, when he was studied in Cambridge, there he found a friend, Arthur Hallam. During summer 1829, the two travelled to Spain to help a group of Spanish rebels in northern Spain. While there, Tennyson was able to experience the Pyrenees Mountains, which influenced a few of his poems, including Oenone, the Lotus Eaters, and Mariana in the south. After meeting with the rebels, they traveled and left for home on 18 September 1829. On the day, Tennyson read to a group of travelers on the boat his newly composed Oenone. Later in 1861, he returned to the Spanish mountains and traveling the earlier path would inspire the poem. And the poem was included in Tennyson 1832 collections. So this is a well-known dramatic monologues. First of all, we are going to enjoy this poem. This is a very long poem. So, we will just listen to this poem. I think you have to listen to this poem very carefully. And everyone get ready to listen to this poem. We will not read out the whole poem, just few stanzas from this poem. So now, we are going to enjoy this poem.
Oenone by Alfred Lord Tennyson. There lies a vale in Ida, lovelier than all the valleys of Ionian hills. The swimming vapour slopes athwart the glen, puts forth an arm and creeps from pine to pine, and loiters slowly drawn. On either hand the lawns and meadow ledges midway down hang rich in flowers, and far below them roars the long brook falling through the cloven ravine. in cataract after cataract to the sea. Behind the valley topmost Gargarus stands up and takes the morning, but in front the gorges, opening wide apart, reveal Troas and Elion's columned citadel, the crown of Troas. Hither came at noon mournful Oenone, wandering forlorn, of Paris, once her playmate on the hills. Her cheek had lost the rose, and round her neck floated her hair, or seemed to float in rest. She, leaning on a fragment twined with vine, sang to the stillness, till the mountain shade sloped downward to her seat from the upper cliff. O Mother Ida, many fountained Ida, dear Mother Ida, hearken ere I die. I waited underneath the dawning hills. Aloft the mountain lawn was dewy dark, and dewy dark aloft the mountain pine. Beautiful Paris, evil-hearted Paris, leading a jet-black goat, white-horned, white-hooved, came up from reedy Simois all alone. Dear Mother Ida, hearken ere I die. He smiled, and opening out his milk-white palm, disclosed the fruit of pure Hesperian gold that smelt ambrosially, and while I looked and listened, the full-flowing river of speech came down upon my heart. My own Oenone, beautiful-browed Oenone, my own soul, behold this fruit whose gleaming rind engraven, for the most fair, would seem to award it thine, as lovelier than whatever aureate haunt the knolls of Ida, loveliest in all grace of movement and the charm of married brows. Dear Mother Ida, hearken ere I die. He pressed the blossom of his lips to mine, and added, this was cast upon the board, when all the full-faced presence of the gods ranged in the hall of Peleus, and whereupon rose feud with questions unto whom to adieu. But Lightfoot Iris brought it yester-eve, delivering that to me by common voice, elected umpire. Here he comes today, Pallas and Aphrodite, claiming each this meed of fairest. Thou, within the cave, beyond yon whispering tuft of oldest pine, mayst well behold them unbeheld, unheard, hear all, and see thy Paris judge of gods. Dear Mother Ida, hearken ere I die. It was the deep mid-afternoon. One silvery cloud had lost his way between the piney sides of this long glen. Then to the bower there came, naked they came, to that smooth swathed bower, and at their feet the crocus brake like fire, violet, amaracus and asphodel, lotus and lilies and a wind arose, and overhead the wandering ivy and vine, this way and that, in many a wild festoon ran riot, garlanding the gnarled boughs with bunch and berry and flower through and through. O Mother Ida, hearken ere I die. On the tree-tops a crested peacock lit, and o'er him flowed a golden cloud and leaned upon him, slowly dropping fragrant dew. Then first I heard a voice of her to whom, coming through heaven like a light that grows larger and clearer, with one mind the gods rise up for reverence. She to Paris made proffer of royal power, ample rule, unquestioned, overflowing revenue, wherewith to embellish state, from many a vale and river sundered champaign clothed with corn, or laboured mine undrainable of ore. Honour, she said, and homage, thanks and toll, from many an inland town.
So the poem is very long, that's why we have enjoyed few stanzas from this poem. Now you have to know some important questions. First of all, why is Oenone in a sad mood? So as the poem opens, Oenone is sad and heartbroken that Paris, her husband, has left her for Helen. The nature around her reflects her depression by falling silent and dropping just as she is doing. So she was very sad because her husband Paris left for Helen. So this is the cause of her sadness. Then why did Oenone refuse hailing Paris? After joining the Trojan War, Paris was wounded and came to Oenone, and Oenone refused hailing Paris. So why? What is the cause? Oenone and Paris had a son, but Paris deserted her for Helen. Betrayed and jealous, Oenone refused to aid the wounded Paris during the Trojan War, even though she was the only one who could cure him. She at last relented but arrived at Troy too late to save him. Overcome with grief, she committed suicide. So how did Oenone die? She committed suicide. On seeing her husband dead, she committed suicide. So I think you all know who is Paris. Paris, son of Priam and Hecuba and brother of Hector. Paris' abduction of the beautiful Helen, wife of Menelaus, sparked the Trojan War. Paris is self-centered and often unmanly. So we know who is Paris. Who married Paris? Paris chose Aphrodite and therefore Helen. Helen was already married to King Menelaus, the king of Sparta. So Paris had to raid Menelaus' house to steal Helen from him. According to some accounts, she fell in love with Paris and left willingly. So before finishing this poem, I would like to give you more information regarding this poem. This character Oenone, it is taken from Greek mythology, and her name, that is Oenone, comes from the Greek word which stands for wine, and she was a Greek nymph and daughter of the river god, and who lived on Mount Ida, where she met the young Paris of the city of Troy. The two were married and enjoyed their life together until Paris voyaged to Sparta, where he met Helen, wife of Menelaus, and carried her off. So Paris joined the Trojan War, and for this reason, Oenone was very upset. So this is for today. In my next lecture, I will give you the analysis of this poem and also the summary and some important questions from this poem. And I think you will also read this poem and try to find out some question answer. And this is for today. Have a nice day. Thank you.